Hi everyone, welcome back to Muthu DevWeb channel. In the previous video, we created our first .NET Web API project called My First API. Before we create our first Get API, it is very important to understand one key concept called JSON. Once you understand JSON, APIs will become very easy to learn. Let's get into it now. First of all, we need to know what is JSON. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. JSON is a simple text format used to store and exchange data between a client and a server. Most modern APIs use JSON because it is easy to read and easy to work with. Let's look at a simple JSON example. This is called JSON object. Data is stored as a key and value pairs. For example, ID is the key, 1 is the value. Similarly, name is the key and laptop is the value. And also cost is the key, 1800 is the value. The curly braces indicates that this is a single JSON object. If we want to send multiple records, we use a JSON array. You can look at a clear example. The square brackets indicates that we are sending a collection of JSON objects. You can look at here. We have one JSON object. We have another JSON object. These two JSON objects, we keep it inside the square bracket, which indicates that we are sending collection of JSON object as a result. This is exactly API's returns list of data. Please look at a sample of JSON diagram. In our example, Swagger UI acts as a client. We have a Swagger UI. From the Swagger UI, we are sending a request which is GET request to the .NET Web API server. For example, we are sending a API/products request to this server. Then the .NET Web API server will process this request in the server side and send back as a JSON response to the Swagger UI. Wonderful. Now that we understand JSON, let's create our first GET API. A GET API is used to retrieve data from the server. Our API will return JSON data to the client. In this video, we will modify our API to return real data as a JSON using a model class. Now I am opening the project solution where we created earlier called My First API. Opening Visual Studio. You can access your project solution either through the recent history or you can go for open a project or solution. I'm entering to my directory. This is my solution. Click open. Great. The solution opened successfully. We will continue using the same project so you can see how APIs grow step by step. In the previous video, we created our first web API controller returned as a simple welcome message using get method. In this video, we will create our first get API that returns JSON data. In the previous video, I created this solution as my first API. Since this is not one video, but a complete of .NET Web API series, I renamed the solution name to .NET 10-Web API-series. This allows me to add multiple projects in the same solution in the future, like get APIs, post APIs, authentication, and more. I renamed only the solution, not the project. This is a common real-world practice in professional projects. How to rename the solution? You can right-click, go to rename, you can rename it. Now we are going to create a model folder and class. Models represents the data that our API returns. How to create model folder? Right click on the project, add, click on add, new folder, type models. Inside the folder, we are going to create a new model class called products CS. Right click on the models folder where just now we created, add, look for class, type product. Click add button. Look at here, the product model class is created successfully. Now we will create some properties inside the product model class. I use public. When I type code in Visual Studio, suggestions automatically appear. Look at here, the suggestions automatically appear. And also you can see there are some auto suggestions, int ID, get set. This feature is called IntelliSense in Visual Studio. It helps us write code faster reduces errors, and even shows available methods and parameters. If the suggestion don't appear in your Visual Studio, for example, now the suggestion doesn't appear. I press Ctrl plus space, then it will automatically appear. IntelliSense is like a smart helper that guides you while coding. You plan to use int id get set what suggested by IntelliSense. How to use that one? Press the tab key. Awesome. See how the IntelliSense help us. Now I am going to create another property which is name. See here, just I press enter, the IntelliSense automatically suggesting we want a property name called name. What a interesting coding now. Just press tab. Awesome. It's created. Next, I want to create one more property. Look at here. Again, IntelliSense suggesting, are you going to create a property called price? Yes, of course, we need it. Just press tab. If you are a beginner, I always strongly suggest don't follow IntelliSense. You have to manually type what you want so that you will get familiarized the keywords syntax in .NET. Nice. We created our required properties. The ID represents the unique identifier of the product. Then the name represents the product name, such as laptop, phone, or whatever it is. Next, the price represents the product price. The description is about the product. Now let's update our controller to return product data. We need a new method. I press enter. Look at here. IntelliSense is asking, do you want HTTP get attribute? Yes, I need it. I press tab key. Then I press enter. Then IntelliSense provides some suggestions. I don't want that. If you don't want, press escape key. We need a new method. See here, IntelliSense is automatically generating most of the code. Whatever we created, the properties from the model class, all are appearing automatically with a sample data. If you really want that, you can press simply tab key. I press tab. What a nice IntelliSense. I strongly suggest if you are a beginner, don't follow IntelliSense. You type everything manually so that you will familiarized about the .NET coding. As we discussed in the previous video, API controller tells ASP.NET Core this is a web API controller. Routes defines the URL pattern. Since our controller name is products controller, the URL become API/products. IAction result represents the HTTP response returned by this API. We create a list of product objects with sample data. You can see here the sample data. The name is product 1. Description is description for product 1. Return OK products sends an HTTP 200 response along with JSON data. We already discussed about this in the previous video. If you want to learn, you can access the link from the below description. Now let's run the application using F5 key, or you can press the play symbol, IIS Express. We are getting some error, failed to load API definition. The error response status is 500, which is internal server error. Now we don't have sufficient information what is the root cause of the issue, but we can understand the issue is relevant to the Swagger JSON. So what we can do, we can straight away browse the Swagger JSON so that we can get more exception logs. See here, we are getting some additional error information. The root cause of the issue is that conflicting method or path combination get API products. We will go back to our source code. We understand the root cause of the issue is due to duplicate routes. In our controller, we have two methods. One is welcome message, another one is get all products. You can see here both methods have same root. By default, HTTP get attribute without any parameters maps to the same URL. You can understand of the current welcome message behavior so that you will understand about the new method behavior. So now I am going to comment the current method Control KC. This is a shortcut key. You can see here there is a hot reload. If you press hot reload, just you press it, the new changes will be reflected in the browser. You no need to stop and run the application every time. After making any changes, you can press hot reload. Now I am switching to the browser. You can see here now the localhost responded successfully. No error. This API products currently mapping to our welcome message. So I press execute the responses from the welcome message. What is happening now? We have HTTP GET attribute which is duplicated. Both methods have same HTTP GET route. In ASP.NET Web API, every GET method must have a unique route. If a two GET method have same route, the server and Swagger won't know which one to call and it throws an error. This was the root cause of the issue. I'm running the application again. What I do, I didn't stop the server. Simply I press hot reload. I want to see what is the error now. See here, we are getting 500 error and go to JSON to understand more about the error. Says that action require a unique method. So we are going to perform a unique method. How to perform it? For the welcome message, I'm going to provide a unique route. You can provide any name which is relevant to the welcome message. So I put a root name called welcome. For our new method also, I put all products. Now I press hot reload. See here, I didn't stop the server. I'm going to the browser, refresh the JSON. Now the JSON doesn't throw any error. Now I'm going to redirect to Swagger UI. See here, now the Swagger UI responded successfully. You can see here for the welcome message, we have a new route called welcome which is appearing now. For our new method which we mentioned all products which is appearing now. Actually we already have API slash products. Again we are having some duplicate name all products which is something like duplicate. So what I do, I simply remove products. Again I press hot reload symbol, switching to browser. You can see here now changes immediately reflected. Usually people used to stop and run the server. We don't want to stop and run. Simply you can press a hot reload. My changes are reflected immediately. Now we will test our JSON response. We just now created a new endpoint. Actually we used to call endpoint. This is one of the endpoint. This is the another endpoint. This endpoint is calling welcome message. When I press try it out, execute, it returns the welcome message. We have one more endpoint which is created in this video. This endpoint going to return all the products. Press execute button. Oh, nice. We got response success. Look at here. As we discussed in the earlier video, this is called JSON object. This is called another JSON object. This is another JSON object. A collection of JSON object sending as a JSON array. We are seeing the result as a JSON array. Here is the result in Swagger. We received a JSON array with 3 objects. Each object represents a product with its property, ID, name, price, and description. This is the C# code that generated JSON response. New square bracket indicates to create array of objects. Look at here. We are going to create more than one item. Each item inside the curly brace is an object with multiple key value pairs. Key value pairs means, for example, ID. ID is the key, value is the one. Name is the key, value is the product one. Every C# properties maps to a JSON field. This is handled by ASP.NET Core when we use return OK products. Wonderful. Today we learned how to create a GET API, use a model class and return JSON data. What is JSON data? This is the JSON data. And what is a model class? This is a model class. In the next video, we will create a POST API and accept data from the request body. Subscribe to Muthu DevHub for the complete C#.NET Web API series. Cheers. Goodbye.